is the first time we'll go through. Hopefully, it's a clear day today for me to be able to present the MiM. I'll stand up and do it standing up. Let's see if that helps get some of the blood flowing. Okay, so the MiM is. Let's just talk about. Let's talk about market on close orders first, right? Everybody know what a market on close order is? An MOC. For you guys that trade equities, almost all of you have the ability to put in a market on close order in. That means that you're going to get the closing price. That's the price that's printed in the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, whatever. At the end of the day, that is the closing price. Everybody gets it. You get it. Goldman Sachs gets it. Everyone gets one on the closing price. So you're able to put in and get. It's like one of the only times it's kind of fair, but I mean they still game it. But and you heard. See, I tell you that Raj he's got a lot of information here. That's good stuff. We talk about, right? So you have all these ETF funds, and you have all of these mutual funds, and you have all these retirement funds, and you have all these things that are traded in the New York Stock Exchange. And the reason that they put money in the New York Stock Exchange is because it's liquid. Okay, it's going to close every single day, and they're going to fill every single order every day. So if you need to raise $1 billion out of your fund, and you've got $1 billion in investment in the market, you'll be able to take that and pull it out. And there's not many markets you can do that. I don't know if you've ever owned anything in like a small cap that's very thin to trade, may trade like 5,000 shares a day. Very difficult. That's why there's volume requirements to be on the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah, so Dinkman, so John will get you going. So you're going to bring up your own MiM. And the reason I wanted to do it that way is, A, you need to learn how to control the room and bring up your MiM. And B, it becomes bigger to look at. So back to market on close orders, right? So the way to do that and to get in and get out of these big orders at the end of the day is to use a market on close order. And there's a huge amount of volume. If you look at the volume bars, you'll see that last minute of trading usually is a pretty big bar as the computers do the final matching and close the market. At 4 o'clock today, it is 3:21 right now, and at 4 o'clock today, it will be the New York Stock Exchange imbalance will be 0. All the buyers and all the sellers will be paired off and matched, and the market shall be closed. And that's the way it works every single day. So what we have here is a way of looking early. The way market on close orders work at 3:45 p.m. Eastern Time, 15 minutes before the market closes, the orders have to be in and cemented, right? So you can put an MOC order in now. You can put it in half an hour from now, but by 3:45, they're going to be locked in. You can't cancel them anymore. You can add them to the other side. So if the MOC orders add up to a sell imbalance, you can put a buy MOC order in. But they're locked, and after 3:45, you can't cancel it either. So that's the time that becomes public. And what happens is our feed you'll see it on our feed today. Our feed will go digital at that point and real time, and you'll start to watch them as they pair off the market and take us into the close for the day. Before 3:45, there is information available, and we're gathering that information off the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. They have what they call early looks, and the reason that they have the early looks and they can see the imbalances early is so that they can find the buyers. And if IBM has a, we can look at my leaderboard here. Lowe's is 47 million to buy. So someone or a group of people, or the accumulation of everybody who's interested in MOC orders on Lowe's, wants to. There's more people that want to buy it than sell it. They've got to find $47 million worth of buyers to buy the Lowe's stock before the market can close in the day. And how do you find buyers in the stock? You got to look lower, right? So if you have a big you have to look higher because you have to find sellers, right? So if you want to find sellers, you got to look higher. If you want to find buyers, you have to look lower. So they've got to find sellers that are willing to sell $47 million worth of stocks. I said that completely backwards and have confused everybody. Okay. So every symbol has, not every symbol, but a bunch of symbols today have buy and sell imbalances. Too many buyers or too many sellers. So there's a scramble in this last couple of hours to get them all paired off, close the market nice and even, go home for a few hours, come back and do it all over again tomorrow. And like I said, the market shall be closed balanced. Well, right now we see that we have $786 million to sell, right? And if you go one down on that chart, you see this says buy and sell below it. That's the sum of all the stocks that have buy imbalances, okay? So there are, let's see, there are 133 symbols that have buy imbalances on it. There are 183 symbols that have sell imbalances on it that we have information on right now. Okay, the 133 stocks that have a buy imbalance, the net accumulation dollar value of the buy is 520 million right now, and then 786 for the sell side. So the net of, and 1.3 billion on the sell side. So there's 1.3 billion dollars for the stock to be sold. There's 520 million dollars of stock to be bought on the different imbalances. The sum of those two, the imbalance of the imbalance, is our top line imbalance, which is the 786 to sell. Is that clear? So that number matters to me. That number matters, but there's a couple other numbers that matter to me, and that's the breadth of the sign. Okay, so we're accumulating, and it's a hand process that our accumulation works. Okay, we're being fed data from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. They're collecting it by hand. They're gathering these symbols and aggregating it. Now, not a lot of people see this data. They see the individual stocks, and that's what they're out doing. They're out trying to find buyers and get commissions, or find sellers and get commissions to pair off. We're accumulating together to try and get an early peek to see what that 345 number is, right? Because we know that the 345 number affects the market. And we could see that when that big sale on that Monday, when the 345 number came out and cemented it and said, yeah, wow, everybody is definitely getting out all at once out of the stadium, and there's only a few exits to do that in. You saw the price go down. So I think the thing to do is, so anyways, just top, buy, sell, dollar, and the pound sign, or the hashtag sign, or whatever you guys want to call it. The dollar sign is the balance of the stocks of the dollars, right? So we had 1.3 billion to sell, 520 to buy. Okay, that means 72% of all the imbalanced dollars right now are on the sell side. Okay, and my number that I like is 66%, right? 66% in ratio is what? It's 2 to 1, right? So 66 to 33, 2 to 1. So I see twice as many dollars on the sell side as on the buy side. I get excited because we've got this hand process. It's very noisy, and I'm starting to get a signal above of the noise of the process, right? So I like that dollar sign today. I like it. 72% of the money is on the sell side. The number I don't like is the pound number, and that's the symbol count, okay? If you go down just below the dial to the first box on the left, and it says all symbols, minus 786 million. That, if you look at that, that's broken into three little sections: the sell, percentage, and buy, right? So that top line is the same numbers that you see up there. The bottom, though, shows you the symbol count. So 183 stocks to sell, 133 to buy. 58% of the stocks are on the sell side, not 66. That is not 2 to 1. Okay. So I don't like to trade, and I'll send you guys some information tonight, and maybe tomorrow I'll be better at explain this again, because we're going to do it all over again tomorrow. But I don't like to trade unless I see the 2 to 1 bias on all of those things. So although the top number is decent, and I like to see 400 million, 500 million, billion, 2 billion imbalances, is the breadth of the symbol count today that makes me not too excited about this. this MiM. Those three charts on the bottom, the first one really is the all symbols, which is just a recap of what's up on next to the dial. The one in the middle is the S&P stocks. So this is the S&P stocks. We don't have all 500 S&P stocks. So we have 174 S&P stocks that have sell imbalance, 126 that have a buy imbalance, and that's 290. That's 200. That's 300, right? So that's 300 stocks total. So there's, it's 20 stocks, 200 stocks that either aren't on the New York Stock Exchange, like Apple, or stocks that simply don't have an imbalance right now. So again, we get to see that 71% of all the S&P dollars are on the sell side, and the symbols count is about exactly the same, 58% breakdown there. And then the Dow, which is up there too for your viewing pleasure. Okay. Click on the tab. It says main is green, so click on the imbalance chart. Here you can see how we've gone for the day. We started off just after 2 o'clock. Our first piece of data came in at 203, 209, I guess. We quickly turned into sell, and then we weren't getting any more data for a while. We started to see the sell abate here right around 3 o'clock, which is one of my magic times for getting in. We can talk about that later. And then looks like we built back up, and we really haven't gotten any data since 3:30, or 3:18 to 3:30. So that's the sell side. So you can see the buy side line, which is the top line, which is the blue line or the green line, or the blue-green line. You can see how that's moved up. You can see the sell side's been growing a little bit faster now than the buy side on the imbalance. Percentage chart, you look at that. The percentage chart's got a green bar on the top, a red bar on the bottom. And again, I'd want to see those two lines be in the red or the green. And it's that green line is not in the muted red box, which keeps me wanting to be out on this particular MiM. But that's the percentage. We got a leaderboard here. We're not allowed to do symbols. It's always a question every boot camp is, can I get a list of all the symbols, even though it does come to us in symbol form when we aggregate it. We are allowed to give you just the top 5 stocks. If you want all the symbols, you can pay New York Stock Exchange $500 a month and get their live feed, which will only run from 3:45 to 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So you can do the top 5s. What I like to look at on the leaderboard is to see how balanced it is. I take the top seller is a 57 million buy by RSG, whoever that is. Pfizer I do recognize, and there's $70 million to sell. So 57 to 70, well, that's okay. And then look at the bottom one is Caterpillar, 17 million to buy, and Energy, 39 to sell. So to me, I feel like there's some missing buys. Like the MiM's kind of shown a little bit more negative than it's really going to be. We won't know the real answer until 3:45. Remember, the truth doesn't exist until the reveal, and that's 3:45 p.m. That's when the orders are frozen. People can't play games. People can't spoof. And it's not all games that people are playing. Sometimes you'll see what happens is they got to be out of the market, and the market's selling like crazy. Well, they can just go to the main market, sell, get their order out, and then go ahead and cancel their MOCs and be happy with that because they think they're going to get a better price than what the MOC is going to be. So sometimes people trade out of their positions, leave the MOCs open until they're filled, and then they cancel them. And sometimes people are trying to play games. So I'm suspicious of this MiM right now. Got a little bit more negative, minus 823. There's a sector tag if you wanted to look at that, and it'll show you that finances got the biggest sell today, 220 million. Healthcare is 210. I don't know what's going on in healthcare today. People don't want it. Transportation's got a decent buy side, and miscellaneous does too. So you want to be in miscellaneous. Snapshot tag I find very useful. If you pull down, if you click on the right side of that, I like the 5 minutes. You can set it for whatever range you want. when I trade, okay, I have three entries. I do three entry possibilities: 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, 3:20 Eastern time, and 3:30 Eastern time. I like to see it meet my criteria, and we'll talk about that. And I'll send you some information tonight. The criteria is the top line. I think is I like it to be. It used to be 300 million. I think it's 500 million now. So either 500 to buy, 500 to sell for the top line imbalance. 66%, like I said, I want 2 to 1 of the dollars and 2 to 1 of the symbols, all lined up all the same way, negative or positive. And then what I will do is, if that had happened here at 3 o'clock, you see at 3 o'clock we were 817 to sell, minus 76, minus 53. Pretend like that minus 53 is minus 68. So I would buy. I would short this market, and then at 320, moving over a few boxes, it's minus 786. Well, I don't like that. I want the sell side to be growing, not getting smaller. It got smaller, and the percentage went from minus 76 to minus 72. I don't like that. That's getting smaller. I want it to get bigger. I won't add at 320 and then 330 and look again and see if it's waxing or waning, so to speak, in strength before I decide I want to add. My view of the MiM is I get a sneak preview of what's going to happen when the MOC gets revealed, and that the market reacts when it gets the MOC, because that's the public reveal. That's the number that gets broadcast on CNBC. That's a number that shows up on all the Bloomberg terminals, and that is when you kind of know what the last 15 minutes of the close is going to look like, for sure. But I've got this little crystal ballish thing that allows me to look ahead of time. So I feel like my job is to get the best entry I can to stage myself for the 345 if I think the 345 is going to go as the MiM is predicting. Last tab is download. You can download data. Feel free to do that while you're here. I think it's a maximum of 2 months or 3 months at a time. You'll have to figure it out. But you can download the data and play with the data. And I think we've got like 3 or 4 years now of MiM data. Kid wants to know, is there any way to tell who's buying or selling orders? No. I mean, the people on the floor might know, but we don't have that. We don't have that data here. Okay. So we did that. We did the 345, 355 is the D quotes. We'll talk about that when they come up. We got 9 minutes, okay? So in 9 minutes, what you'll see is, if you look in the all symbol box, it's minus 177, 153. That number, that's, what do we say, it's 300 symbols. You'll see that number go over 500 symbols, because we'll be getting the real digital feed. Any questions? Because I know I kind of went through that, and this was not a clear day, kids. This is not good for me. So our big days, our big days are ends. End of the week, end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year. Those are big kind of, the rebalancing times, right? So there's a couple kinds of rebalancing. It was really interesting listening to Raj talk about the volatility rebalancing. That was interesting, and that kind of falls along in the bond stock funds, right? They have these. You go to the Fidelity, right? They've got the 2040 retirement fund, right? Which is like, I don't know, 90% stocks, 10% bonds, or whatever. But they're rule based, and so they have to rebalance. So if the stock market goes up and outpaces the bonds, guess what? They got to move money from the stock market to the bonds market. They have to rebalance. So stocks to bonds rebalancing, that kind of stuff, where money comes out of the market or into the market, those are great rebalancing and great MiM trades and great volatility on the end of the day kind of trades. But there's other trades too, which are kind of like sector rebalancing or risk rebalancing, where maybe you're moving from the blue chips into the small caps or whatever stuff. those will be big numbers, and you'll see that. You'll see the sell side be like 2 billion and the buy side be 2 billion, and the net is zero, right? And so while it's really great for the stockbrokers and everybody else, and they're all making money, for the indexes aren't really going to be moving around at all much based on that. So kind of a rebalancing on both sides. So you'll see that sometimes too. Just hit a 10 down here, just around 320. We hit 2705. Are we on the low of the day here? Yeah. We've traveled a big road today. One thing you can say for sure is they ain't buying back into this market. They did a lot of selling and on the close, and they're not doing that big buying back. 30% up down volume. Some pretty negative ticks here today. Really didn't really talk about the meter, but the meter really is just a visual way of looking, right? So that blue hand, it's pointing to 12 o'clock right now, is showing me it's pretty much 50-50. So it's pretty much as many symbols that have buy imbalances that have sell imbalances, and we know that's 164 to 151. We do like the yellow hand being in the red. It tells us that the bias is that way as far as the dollars. But like I said, if the market really wants to sell, it'll be selling, and you'll see those numbers will be 98, 95, 96 numbers. The hands will be pinned right to the other side of the screen when everybody wants out or everybody wants in. We have quite a few traders trade in the room. It's not an overly loud room, but we put our trades in and we're respectful. But I can tell you, there are traders that are better than me, and there are some silent traders that I know that are really doing well. I was talking about changing some way that I did a calculation. I just recently took the P out. I don't know if the SD Dan and those guys in the room noticed that the P is missing, but we used to have a P value on the chart, which was on the gauge, which was pressure, which was an attempt to look at the amount, the volume of shares for a particular symbol that were being pressed into the imbalance. Meaning that if it was let's just speak numbers. If it was 1% of the outstanding shares that needed a transaction on the close, that was one thing. But if it was 5%, then that's a much bigger pressure on that. So we tended to look at pressure, or I did attempt to look at pressure and see if there's any value there. Oh yeah, the mini MiM still has the P on it. Good point. I didn't clean up the mini MiM. So 100% of the pressure is on the sell side, whatever that means. So Paul says, could you explain the percentage again relative to volume? Oh, that P number I was just talking about? That was pressure. I took it off. I don't even have it on there anymore. That's what you're talking about. So kid wants to know how we use it during the open. Go in the MiM room and ask order pending or STDan, and they look at the open. It's a very quiet room in the open. I try to spend time, and I haven't really done that, to see how I'm like this morning we had a pretty decent sell imbalance. Did you look at it this morning and you saw how it kind of like piled in at the last minute, 9:30, and so we came right into the open and all the orders piled up on the sell side this morning. And you looked at the ticks, and the ticks weren't that low. So it felt to me like they were gobbling them pretty much as they were being open. There was plenty of buyers in the open, and sure enough, we just had a really nice move up. Now, that's how I look at it, but I don't look at it enough to necessarily trade that. But looking at the ticks and looking at the open to try to evaluate how we're going to move right after the open, I always thought there was something there to do. Okay, so Paul says, no, that's not what I want. I want the percentage column between sell and buy. What does it indicate? Okay, that indicates the percentage of those numbers, right? So you're talking about on the charts below where it says like all symbols, for instance, minus 653 now. So we're getting, we're waning here on the sell side. Okay, so I think it's easier to think of on the symbols, right? So we have 542, we have 550. We have 550 symbols up right now. Oh, this is it. That was the reveal when I said 550. Okay, so we have 550 symbols up. So this is the real market on close. This is my 684. Oh, I got to give you that. That's spiel too. So we have 500 and whatever symbols up. 309 of them are sell. 243 are buy. Okay, so 56%, the number between 56% of the symbols are sell, right? So if you add those two numbers up together, and then you divide 309 by, you divide whatever, 309 by that number, you're going to get that percentage. It's just a straight percentage of the sum of the two columns. And that doesn't have anything to do with volume. So pound is a symbol count. So 331 different symbols, right? IBM, Merck, Goldman Sachs, all those symbols. 311 of them are sell. 238 have buy imbalances. The dollar side's a little bit weirder to think about, but there's 147 million of all the imbalances on the sell side. It represents 1.4 billion dollars right now. 746 on the buy side. So of all of the dollars that are being assigned to imbalances, 66% of them are on the sell side. It's just a way of looking at how strong that sell is compared to the buy. Tommy Two-Town buying the bounce here. MOC numbers. So you'll see, Danny post MOC numbers. You'll see MOC numbers. You'll hear what's his name on CNBC saying the market on closes or the imbalances or those things. There, MOC numbers are temporal in that they change every second. So the number right now is different than the other number. It's different than it's going to be 5 minutes ago. The symbols that you have in your list for MOCs are different. So everybody's MOC numbers are unique. So we have the MiM MOC number. The MiM MOC number was that minus 700 million number, whatever it was up there, 670. That's our MOC number. It should be, fairly close. And then but sometimes we see that some numbers come in positive, because when you're particularly right around that threshold, of 50/50, it gets easy to calculate one way versus the other. But I don't know. Danny usually will put in his MOC number that he gets from somebody else. It's not supposed to be a lag, but our data provider cuts it over and then we get it. So it seems like it's maybe like 15 seconds. So now the orders are locked. What we're going to be seeing is that they're going to start trying to pair the stuff off. So we had 1.4 billion to sell, 750 to buy. Should be working our way to the close. And again, the orders can't be canceled. You can add to it on the other side. So you can, what was the leaderboard here? It was Walmart was 46 million to buy. If you're interested in selling MOC Walmart on the close, you can do that. You can put that order in right now. The other rule is, Walmart just got wiped out, so Walmart's gone. Walmart has been paired off. Somebody took it, put the order in, and sold their Walmart to take away the imbalance. So Lowe's has got 44 million to buy now. They're the leader. Pfizer has 66 million to sell. So if you want to buy that, you can put that in. You can cancel if you've made a mistake. So if you meant 100 and you put 10,000 in, there is a special provision for you to cancel that. And then something happens very weird, and I don't quite get it, but at 355, the floor brokers have D quotes, discretionary quotes, where they can basically come in and do whatever they want for like 4 more minutes of free play. And you can do that too, and you can participate in that. So I know that a couple trading stations have the ability to exercise D quotes. So you can put an order directly into to a floor broker and have them make that as part of the close. So you'll usually see right around 350, right around 355, you'll usually see another move on the chart. That's a pretty drastic move. And that's the D quotes, whether the D quotes were buys or sells. Did they add to the selling or did they buy back? We have Rick in the MiM room who can see the NAS MOC stuff when it's published. They published theirs at 3:50, I think, Eastern Time. It's called Crossings. And he's saying that the NAS MOC was better to buy. That kind of goes along with what we saw today in the AD lines, right? NASDAQ 100 was the strongest of all the AD lines, and everybody else was a little bit weak. So Texan Void or in Vogue. Trader Dave points out that NQ is actually up 0.11 today, while ES is down about almost 0.5%. So yesterday we had 88 new highs. I think that's what it was this morning. We looked at it today. Only 63 new highs. We might pop a few in the next 8 minutes, but not a follow-on bullish day to yesterday for sure. Our premium on the charts, our premium number has settled it back into a much better looking chart going between the Bollinger Bands. Oh, I don't know. I didn't see that. I saw it go away. I thought it was weird when it went away. It came back. So maybe it's just an error in the data feed. Maybe someone said, no, it wasn't 47 million. It was 4 million I wanted to. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And then as far as that pressure thing, there's still the top 5 pressures up there, but Berkshire B always breaks that. Yes. Yes, 345. No. We usually get that reveal about 345, yeah. About 10 seconds, Dan says. I should take and see if I can squeeze that time down. I didn't really look to see if I can bring that in tighter. Just take the data. I don't get a signal for sure that we're past, that we're on live data. Feed looks indistinguishable to me. I just see the symbol count go up. And you can see we're pairing off, and the D quotes have come in now, and it looks like the D quotes bought. And then what's ever left over, okay, so there's market on closed orders, there's limit on closed orders to LOC. So you can participate if you want in the close by providing liquidity, or you just want to get out or whatever. You can put a limit on order in the close, which means that, yeah, I want to sell in the close, but within this limit. And so when they do the computer matching, they'll do all the MOC orders first, obviously. They'll do any leftover market orders that are just floating around in the spaces. You can always put a market order at the very end, limit orders in, and then limit on close orders. So they'll sweep volume wherever they have to in order to satisfy the pool of remaining orders that are left in the 1 minute. And the computers are very fast, and they do it like in half a second or something, and it's all done. Opening MiM starts at 8:30, I think, and runs to 9:30. Can't remember if it's 8 or 8:30. But again, the early data on that, really, it seems to me when I look at that opening MiM, it really is like the last 5 minutes that are interesting, just before the close happens. The open happens. Our data comes in from us on the floor starting a little after 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, it's hand-collected data being fed to us. We accumulate it, aggregate it, sum it up, and then send it out to our members. John says it's 7:30 Central Time. That's it. We're 3 minutes away from the close. All right, so we did day 1. Day 2, we did. Day 3, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, is Peter Davies from Jigsaw Trading. He's a really great guy, really good presenter. Anybody use the Jigsaw trading platform at all? Anybody in here? Get a chance to talk with him. 11 o'clock Central Time, noon time tomorrow. So for us East Coasters, it's a brown bag lunch. Ahmet Goindi, We're talking from trade alerts, options and options trading. Another good trade. And I think we got somebody else we're going to try and squeeze in tomorrow. We've got a couple of people we're going to try and squeeze in and do some surprise stuff, and we'll let you know in the morning as early as we can. So that's what's going on. And tomorrow I'll start again, and we'll go through the MiM one more time. Hopefully we'll get something a little more exciting and active on the MiM, and we'll run through how we do and use it one more time. This is the easiest class we've ever had. It's a good-sized class too, and you guys are doing fantastic using the room, doing the presentations. Any questions? Here we go. We're closing, and there's always a little bit left on the MiM at the end. It'll flush all the data out. Got questions? I don't even know how I did that. I'm there to help you. I might not know the answers. If I don't know the answers, I'll either make it up, or I'll probably most likely find somebody who does know the answer and get them in contact with you. So, was this 3:50:44? Marty Schwartz. The last hour is Russian roulette. I hope Danny gets Marty to come in. That would be awesome. I'm going to say goodnight. It's 4 o'clock. Cash is closed. And guess what else has happened? Don't you feel it? The New York Stock Exchange is in balance. Good night. See you guys in the morning. And please give me a call or email me if you need help. You can see the full open print during open house, Paul, but you can. Can't you? Okay. Kid says yes. Paul says no. Every morning, yes. Every morning, John publishes the link to the opening print and the access code to get in. And that's the full opening print. So that should be there in the morning. And read those posts in the morning. Those posts, yeah, there it is. Those posts are, the traders come in the morning, they post their daily trading plan. Those are really great to go through and read. And they're available to you early. You missed the passcode. Dakota King. All right. Any other questions before I say goodnight? No. All right. Good night, guys.